So thank you so much for joining us here at Indigo Moon. You know, we all think that we know people, but we know people from one perspective. You might know the person's from the perspective of you being a sister or brother or sibling. You might know a perspective of a person from being their niece or their daughter or their, nephew, what have you. You only know them from this one side. But as you get to learn more about them, or maybe you never get to see the other side of the person, maybe at a family function you might find out more information and you say, well, that's not the person because I don't know that side of that person. But that person might, again, be one way with you and another way with someone else. Okay, the example would be, let's say, okay, I hooked up this girl with my boyfriend's best friend once, okay? And I didn't know that there were gold digger sides to this person. I only found this out based upon some of the ways in which this person was treating the other person. And that's when I decided I was no longer going to hook people up or introduce people for dating, because when a person does something wrong, it falls back on you. It's like giving someone a recommendation at a job. You give them that recommendation, it's a reflection on you. So when that person decides to mistreat the people on the job or doesn't show up at work on time or does different things, it goes right back to you. It's a reflection of you. Now, I didn't know that side of that person. And then one time I gave a reference to a person to work at a job. I figured it wouldn't be bad because this person had gone to college. They had, had jobs over so many periods of time. I grew up around this person. I should know them. But I didn't know that not only was this person going to go on the computer system for personal things and then invite a relative to come to the job and take advantage of the same computer system. How would I have known that? You don't always know people, and that's the reason why it's kind of rough sometimes when you're going to give a reference. I was working with a guy once, and his mother was going to give me a reference at her job. And the more I thought about it, the more I said, you know what? If I decide to move away, I'm not going to be at that job. And that's going to be a poor reflection on her. So I didn't take the job. Here we are. It's like a merry-go-round in life. When you're unbalanced, it's a reflection on you, but what about the person who's innocent? What about that person who is recommending you in sincerity because they know of you? You have to look at it. God is teaching us all lessons. And sometimes you don't learn the lesson when it's a relative. So when it becomes a friend, God is teaching you that same very lesson all over again. So the same person who I gave the recommendation to, same person who I hooked somebody up with, that same person ended up doing something underhandedly against me. And then to really top it all off, when I didn't learn the lessons from that person, the person who that person ended up with, I knew that person, or I met that person in high school. This person and that person got together, and it was a very dangerous dynamic, because sometimes when you have a person, too many people, or should I say two people who are exactly alike, the lesson is learned twice as hard. The lesson is learned twice as hard, and this was God's way of putting it directly in your face so that you learn to stay away from this person. We don't always, again, know an individual until certain incidents happen, and then it's a reflection that goes right in front of you. It's a mirrored image, and then you get to see both parties together. And you say, oh my goodness, this is what God was teaching me. So, to make a long story short, the person who reminded me of that same person I recommended for a job did a lot of bragging. And with all that bragging that person did, it showed me how much these two are so much alike, which allowed me the opportunity to remove myself from the equation. God is teaching everyone a lesson. The lesson might be that that person be your father, okay? And you see how your father does certain things, and you say, oh no, I can't recommend your father for this job. So your father gets upset. He's disappointed. But if he looks at his behavior, if he evaluates the things that he has done, then he would say, okay, I understand why this person is not recommending me for this position. Be it a father, be it a cousin, be it a nephew, whoever. God places people in our lives. We grow up with these people. We live around these people. We learn from them so that we don't make the same mistake. We see that same behavior in someone outwardly. Let's say you're dating the person and you start seeing some of these same behaviors. Then that's God's way of saying, is this a perfect match? Is this person for you? He allows you to take the opportunity to decide whether you want to move forward or you want to stop that relationship. But nonetheless, it's a lesson. So remember that each person in your life is teaching you a lesson. Whether it be a good one or a bad one, they're teaching you so that you can learn from these mistakes and you won't make them again. So remember that, because it is supposed to happen to all of us, because we came here to learn. This earth plane is like college, like high school, like elementary school. You're going to be there to learn. Learn the lesson, grow, and persevere so that you can graduate and then learn newer lessons later on. Thank you so much for joining us, Indigo Moon.